Hi, this is Maritairy Rodriguez, and this is my case summary report on the case of Gabriel Fernandez. So on this slide, I added the identification and description of the case. So from left to right, we have Isaurio Aguirre, who was Gabriel Fernandez's mom's boyfriend, no blood relation to him. In the middle, we have the victim, Gabriel Fernandez. He was only 8 years old when he succumbed to his injuries after he was tragically beaten and almost to death. And then on the right of Gabriel Fernandez is his mom, Pearl Fernandez. He was abused, tortured, and killed by these two people. He was only 8 years old at the time of his death, and one of the things that stood out to me during this research was that between 2003 and 2012, more than 60 complaints were filed against his mom, and all came back founded. The three criminal statutes and acts that were violated in this case by Isaurio and Pearl were Penal Code 273A, felony child abuse, likely to produce great bodily harm or death, which it did. Penal Code 206, which is felony torture, and Penal Code 187A, first-degree murder with malice aforethought, and these stats are from CalCrim. On this slide, I have the same penal codes that were violated, but I did add more of a description towards the bottom. So child abuse requires the defendants to willfully inflicted unjustifiable pain or mental suffering on the child. Torture means requires deliberate and malicious act that will result in cruel or extreme pain to the victim. And then first-degree murder requires prosecutors to demonstrate that defendants inflicted deliberate and premeditated abuse that ended up killing Gabriel. During my research, this was one of the stats that stood out to me the most. It's in the U.S., more children died due to abuse or maltreatment at the hands of their own parents than in any other relationships. In 2022, about 363 children died due to abuse by both parents, and 473 children die as a result of abuse by their own mother. Here are just a few more stats. 1 in 4 girls are affected by abuse and neglect, and 1 in 13 boys are affected by abuse and neglect. The modus operandi of this case was that Gabriel was physically hit, tortured, he was starved. He was abused in every way that you can think of, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, violently beaten, and had a cracked skull, broken bones, bruises, cigarette burns, and all the bad things that make you wonder how he was able to survive for so long under the care of these two people. I wanted to add this slide just because I wanted people to understand that it's important to physically view these things, because it's one thing to just read about it, but it's another thing to actually see the harm and what it looks like on a child. My public warning is to speak up and follow up, as far as speaking up and checking to see if what you said actually got checked out. It makes a difference. It ends the silence. It holds people accountable, and it makes sure that we never forget all the terrible things that come as a result of child abuse and neglect and murder. And these are my resources. I hope that you enjoy reading my paper and viewing my presentation. And that is all for now. Have a good night.